All right. So let's start from what an organization is, because you cannot be an administrator who does not understand what organizations are, because you're going to be administering or you're going to be managing the organizations. So when you think of an organization, there can be many definitions that are possible. Okay? But most of these definitions, they should just be there to include the characteristics of the people, the goals, and the structures. So you can try to define an organization in different ways. Right. Sorry, my mic had been mute. So I am saying that you can define an organization using your own words, okay? But there's just some key things that you need to ensure that in your definitions, they are there. So an organization can be defined as a group of individuals that are working together to achieve one or more objectives, okay? So there are different theorists that have defined organizations differently, but we can see that these definitions, they have some key features, some 5 common features in them. And the first one includes, number 1, that the organizations are composed of individuals or groups of individuals, right? You learn that the organizations, they are oriented, right? They are oriented towards achieving a collective goal. For an organization, there are goals that are set. Those goals, they have to be achieved collectively. All of us, we have to be pushing towards only one goal in an organization. And again, they consist of different functions. The organizations have got the functions that need to be coordinated. So basically, those are some of the key things that should come out in the definition that you're going to create for an organization. So let's look at an input-output model. Today is an introductory lecture. So what is an input and output model? So this basically is a model that is there to depict and show to us what happens, the whole process of converting the inputs. I'll tell you what inputs are. Okay, using relevant technology to produce the desired outputs. Okay, so what happens in the whole process of production is that you're going to have the inputs that you're going to use here. That are mainly the factors of production, okay? And these factors of production include, you can use land, can use labor, right? What else can you use? I mean the factors of production, the inputs. I've mentioned the 2, land and labor. Anyone, you can turn on your mic and mention one.
Yes, sir. Let me try.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Maybe rent you can include. That is how I'm thinking.
Okay.
Commodity.
Thank you very much.
And
Do we have
commodity
any
we
other?
can say. Commodity I can say.
Sorry, come again?
Commodity.
Okay. Commodity. Wow, interesting. Thank you so much for that one. Do we have any other? The factors of production. Okay. We have got capital.
Capital,
And
energy, power
we
like
have got,
energy, something.
yes, and entrepreneurship. These are mainly the factors of production that we have. So you can have the inputs, different inputs from these. You can have the raw materials, all those inputs, like everything that you use so that you can have the desired outputs are called the inputs. Can you define technology for us? What is technology? Anyone to define technology? What do you understand by technology? Do we have anyone who wants to pick it?
Latest uh, latest technology. Technology means with the procedure we are using to in process to develop something.
Yes. Thank you so much for that definition. Do we have any other from someone else? What's your take? What do you understand by technology? Okay. All right. So by technology, we refer to the methods, okay? These are the methods. These are techniques that we use to convert the inputs into the desired outputs. Is that clear? So basically technology, when we ask people about technology, they will just say phone, computer. But by technology, the word technology is so broad. It should be understood in this context. Okay, these are basically the ways, the methods, the techniques that you use to do what? To convert the inputs into the desired outputs. And these outputs are basically the finished goods that we produce. So the input-output model is just there to show us, explain the mechanism that happens from the conversion of those raw materials and the technology used so that we can have the desired what? Output. Is that clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes, it's clear.
So this is what the process is all about. So you put, you're going to put those inputs, and the inputs would include labor, the premises, just as said, energy, technology, finance, materials. Then you transform them, okay, into the desired output. That is what the input-output model is all about. Now, the organizations, they should have the objectives. Please, I should emphasize this point, I feel so. Organizations need what? They need objectives. Without the objectives, then an organization is existing for nothing. So we need the objectives. Now, these objectives of an organization, you may be interested to learn that they need to be what? To have the following, characteristics or features. They are supposed to be smart, right? Your objectives are supposed to be what? To be smart. Now, the word smart are the acronyms that stand for number one, S, specific, right? M, measurable. A, achievable or attainable. R, realistic or relevant. And the T, time-based. Right. Your objectives that you set, you are going to become an administrator, a manager. Ensure that in your management, the objectives that you set are smart. You will be specific. You have to be specific on what you want to do as an organization, right? You have to be specific. Don't set those goals that are vague, that are unclear, because clarity is very, very important. Okay, so you have to be clear and you have to be specific on what you want to achieve as an organization. Now, you may be interested in learning that, you know, the organizational objectives are supposed to be measurable. You see, we don't want you to be kind of a manager who sets this objective that cannot be measured. We are not sure how far we are from achieving it. We are not sure whether we are progressing towards it. We are not sure of the direction that we are heading. No, 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 no. You will not be such a kind of a manager. So, you know, the goals and the objectives that you set as a manager, they will need to be measurable. There should be some key indicators. There should be, you know, the tangible way of measuring, assessing whether you are progressing towards the set goal or you are not. There should be indicators. When you set the goal, like there should be a way of measuring how far we are from the goal. Right. That's what we mean by measuring. So the goals that you set, make sure that they can be measured, they are attainable. Be realistic as you are setting the goals. We need those goals that you can manage to attain. Of course, the goals have to be a little bit, you have heard of people that say dream big. Like they have to be challenging so that you are stretched enough, but they should be realistic enough and they have to be attainable. You should be able to achieve them using the resources available. The goals will have to be relevant to what you are doing at the time as an organization. Let your goals be relevant, and there should be a deadline. There should be time, okay? There should be an aspect of what? Of time to those goals that you are setting. Because if you don't have time, like there is no time, then it's very difficult for you to know when you're going to end. And most of you might have been students before. You know, the human brain has got this issue. It works with the deadlines, you know. We work with deadlines as human beings. It's a magic. You see, when you just have a project and there is no deadline, we don't know when we are going to end. It is possible for you to do that thing for a longer period of time as compared to when you set the deadlines. Of course, when you set the deadlines, the brain, the first thing that comes is an impulse. It will say, no, you cannot achieve this. But as you just focus and convince yourself, we are going to do this, then the brain will start searching within your powers to see how best you're going to do it to achieve that particular objective. So it is very necessary that there should be what? A deadline. Do I have any question? Any contribution?
No, sir, we are together. We are following.
Right. What now? Who do the businesses exist for? The businesses, they are for who? So there are basically two views that management writers have come up with. And the first one is stakeholders' view, and the second one is the shareholders' view. Now I want to pose a question to the class. What could be the difference between a stakeholder and a shareholder? Let me start from a shareholder. Who is a shareholder? Anyone? Who is a shareholder?
The
Could you
person who is
define?
owning the shares of a particular business.
Right. So a person who is owning the shares of the particular business is called a what? A shareholder. Right. That is correct. Do we have anyone who wants to say it in other words? What do you understand by a shareholder? Okay. Who is a stakeholder? Then who is a stakeholder? What do you understand by stakeholder? Who is a stakeholder? Is the class with me?
Stakeholder means the person who put finance, who is dealing with finance of particular company.
Wow. Thank you so much for the attempt. Class, who is a
Thank you.
stakeholder? Okay. So now, a stakeholder is any person or is any entity that is affected by the operations of the organization. Anyone who is interested, anyone who is affected, either positively or negative, as long as they are affected in some way by the operations of that particular organization, then they are the stakeholders of that organization. Is that clear? So we are just checking, is this person affected? Or is this entity affected? In what way are they affected? Are they interested in the operations? If at all they are, then they are what? They are stakeholders. Now, what do you think could be the difference between a stakeholder and a shareholder? Any difference between a stakeholder and a shareholder? My good class. You know, this class is a very good class so far. What do you think could be the difference?
Stakeholder means it can be any person who is involved in that particular business. And shareholder is that who owns the shares of that particular business.
Okay, thank you. So just as said, the shareholder
No, sir.
is that one.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
I can't hear what the Precious is saying. Maybe she can repeat again.
Okay, the class did not get what you said. Go ahead. You can repeat. The class is requesting you to repeat.
Okay, I can repeat again. Okay. Stakeholder, the difference between stakeholder and shareholder is this. Stakeholder means any person who is involved in that business. It can be any employee, anyone, any person who is affected by that business. And shareholder is the person who owns the shares of particular business.
Right, correct. So just as defined, a shareholder is any person who has invested and they have shares, they own part of that company. They share both in the profit and the loss of that particular company. Then a stakeholder is just anyone who is affected, anyone who is interested in the operations of that particular organization. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's look at the shareholder's view. A shareholder owns part of the company through stock ownership. A stakeholder is interested in the performance of a company for reasons other than just the stock appreciation. So the shareholders are stakeholders in a corporation, but stakeholders are not always what? Shareholders. Did you get it? The stakeholders are not always the shareholders. Now let's look at these views. The question we are answering is, who do businesses exist for? Shareholders view. A shareholder is a part owner of a business who has invested the funds in the purchase of the firm's shareholders or shares. Now, this view advocates for profit maximization as a business objective that strives, to achieve the largest possible returns for investors. So with this view, the business exists for what? It exists for shareholders. It is there for profit maximization. The business has to maximize the profit. Is that clear? That is according to this view. The second view is the stakeholders view. Now with this one, it is interesting. Okay. Let's first of all, once again, define a stakeholder. It is any individual, any group that has got an effect on or is affected by a business or an organization. It may include the groups such as employees, the owners, the trade unions, the customers, the pressure groups, and the competitors. Now, according to this theory, some management theorists, they write that, or they believe that it is beneficial in the long run for the firms to recognize the views of these groups and to include their objectives in the decision-making process. This is according to this view. So this view says that we don't just exist for what? For shareholders, no. We exist for stakeholders, for everyone. When we are making decisions, we have to factor, we have to put into the perspective everyone and everything. Is there any question from anyone? Hello? Do I have any question?
No questions.
Right. Now let's look at the needs and the expectations of different stakeholders in a business. Let's look at the different stakeholders and their needs. Okay, that is what we want to do. Let's look at them. Number one, let's start with the employees. The employees, they are usually concerned with improving their standard of living. They want to achieve higher wages. They want better working conditions, such as the longer holidays and shorter working hours. These are the employees. We want you are business managers, right? You are going to be managing. Understand these people properly. The workers feel good. The employees, they feel good to have longer holidays. And they want to work shorter working hours, right? But they want higher wages. The employees are also concerned with health and safety, and they want to work in an environment that protects them from any harm and danger. Is that clear? They want to work in such an environment. Okay. Now, let's look at the managers. Before we go to the managers, I want to find out from class. What do you think are other expectations and needs that the employees want, apart from these that I have mentioned? We can get some from the class. The class is with me. You people, you have never been employees. You're powerful people.
Better environment to work.
Sorry?
Better environment.
Yeah, better environment. You want better environment. That's what they want. Okay. Do we have anyone else who wants to add on what employees want as employees, apart from what we have already said?
Job security.
Job security. That is very important. Yeah. Employees don't want to work for an institution that does not seem to be there for the long run. In the long run, they want to work for the institutions that can be there, and they don't want to work in an environment where their jobs are threatened. They can, lose their job anyhow. Right. Thank you. Do we have any other?
They will need peace.
They need peace. Okay. Thank you very much. So those are some of the needs and expectations of the employees. Let's look at the managers. So the managers are very important, okay? Because their responsibility is there to formulate a strategy that realizes the mission, the vision, and also their ultimate role is in strategic management, forming the strategies and implementing the strategies. The manager's principal objective is to maximize the profit for shareholders by ensuring production is done efficiently and cost effectively. However, the managers, have considered power in an organization. They may aim to maximize their own salaries, fringe benefits, they may want to just do things in favor of themselves as well. Okay, they have their own interest as well as managers. So you have to understand that they're very, very important. They help us, they help the organization to be very efficient and effective. A question again to the class. What do you think is the difference between the word efficient and effective? Efficiency and effectiveness, what could be the difference? Managers are expected to be both efficient and effective, yeah? What could be the difference between the two words?
Efficiency means the person who knows work properly and who can do work properly.
Wow. Thank you so much. What about effectiveness?
Effectiveness means his work can affect the company in the proper way, not even company, even employees of the company also.
Okay. Thank you for the attempt. Do we have any other person who wants to say something on the difference between efficiency and effectiveness? Is there any question? Any difference? Right. So with efficiency, it is the ability to produce the desired output using the minimum amount of inputs or resources. So in other words, using the minimum amount of resources, the amount of inputs, then you should have the ability to produce the desired output. That is efficiency. But effectiveness is regardless of the amount of resources that you have consumed, then you should have the ability to produce the desired output. So in short, it means having the ability to produce the desired output. But for this one, for effectiveness, that is regardless of how much of inputs that you have invested. Is that clear? So in short, the efficiency focuses on the material, like the inputs. So when you are efficient, it means that you are able to do the work and produce the high quality that we want, but within the shortest, for example, in terms of time, shortest possible time, and using the minimum amount of other inputs and resources. That is efficiency. You are efficient. But to be effective, it just means to be able to produce the desired results. It doesn't matter. You can even spend, if the resource in question is time, you can even spend a lot of time. But as long as you've produced the desired, you can use a lot of resources. As long as you've produced the desired result, then we are okay. That is with effectiveness. Obviously, you've gotten the difference. Okay, shareholders. Now, they are primarily interested in the business generating profit. Now, these guys invested their money, so they want the business to make profit. So to do this, they want to see the business increase its sales, while at the same time, they should be keeping the cost under control. Remember, the business exists for profit maximization. And there are two ways of profit maximization, maximizing profit. You can maximize the profit by increasing revenue or minimizing the cost, isn't it? You can maximize revenue, holding the cost constant, or minimize the costs, right? Or can do both, maximize revenue and minimize the cost. So cost minimization is a function, and it is very important. So shareholders, as shareholders, they want you as managers to make sure that you keep costs under control. And we want you to make sure that you generate enough profit as possible. Let's look at the suppliers. Now, with the suppliers, this is very important. It's very important to notice that the suppliers, they are the ones that provide us with the raw materials that are needed for production. It is very important for you to develop a very good and long-term relationship with them. Because if you temper with the relationship that you have with your suppliers, they are going to change. At some point, they will stop supplying to you on credit. They may tighten the conditions, of services that they offer to you. And at the end of it all, you find yourself in problems. So suppliers, make sure you're in good terms with the suppliers. The government. The government is also a stakeholder in business because profitable firms, they pay taxes to the government on their profit. So the government is actually interested in what we are doing, right? So usually the government is very much interested in what we are doing as an organization. As long as you make profit, the government will be interested. They will come in with their labor laws as well to check and ensuring that you're abiding by the laws that are set. That is very, very important. Okay. Now, do I have any question? Is there any question? On the stakeholders, there is no question. Let's look at the conflicts of interest now. What do we mean by conflicts? You have seen that these stakeholders, they have different what? They have got different views, right? They have got different needs. They have different expectations. So you see that some of these expectations, they conflict. There is a conflict which exists. So now let's look at this conflict. Let's pick the first one, the conflict between management and suppliers. Now, a situation where conflict could arise in between management and suppliers would include the following. We know that one task of management is to ensure that costs are kept to a minimum. So in the past, this has often resulted in a policy of negotiating with several suppliers to force down the prices of raw materials and the components through competitive tendering. Usually this has led to conflict as the suppliers themselves, they are attempting to make profit as well, okay? So they might respond by reducing the quality or the reliability of their products in attempt to restore profit margins. So the modern view is to engage in long-term partnership. Actually, a single supplier can be there for you to offer the discounts. The point is that you have to make sure that, I'm not saying you should just only have one supplier, because at some point, one supplier may not be able to deliver. You may have one or two, but the point is create a good relationship. Have you seen that the management, they want to push the cost down, right? So they go there to negotiate. Please, can you charge low prices all the time? You just want to push the prices down, but you don't care about your friend, right? The supplier. Then the suppliers as well, they see that, these guys are pushing the prices down. So they will react by doing what? Reducing maybe the quality of the product that they're giving you, or the materials. So that is very important. So in as much as you want to negotiate, those people that want to negotiate, that want cheap things, even if you want cheap things, you have to be careful. Make sure that even those people who are providing those cheap things, they are comfortable, so that they don't tamper with the quality of that. So this is one of the conflicts that we have between the two people. Do we have any other way in which the management and the suppliers can have the conflict? How could the conflict arise between the management and suppliers, apart from what we have said already? Hello? Okay. Let's look at the conflict between the shareholders and the employees. Now, let's look at the conflict between the shareholders and the what? And the employees. So one situation where the conflict might arise is between the employees attempting to obtain a what? A wage rise. Then shareholders wanting a growth in profit. This is what happens. The employees, they want they want their wages to rise, right? They want increase. But again, at the same time, you see that the shareholders, they don't want to increase the wages, the salaries for people, because we want more profit. If we increase salaries, then that is cutting on the profit. So you see those conflicts, right? So the employees concerned with obtaining higher wages and better working conditions would increase the running costs of the business. You see, there are these employees, they want you to provide with the transport, they want you to provide with the internet, they want you to provide with everything, like everything, you take care of them, if possible, even buy food for them. You get? But you know that all those are costs. If you are to head that direction, it means that the business will have a lot of costs, then that will cut on the profits. So you have all these conflicts. What these want, you see that the employees are usually not happy with management. And this is what I have seen. I guess most of you can bear witness to the truth. When employees sit, most of them would sit and talk about their management. These people, they're not giving us salaries. They're not increasing. They what? Like all the time, the employees just want an increase. They want better working conditions. They just want better, everything better. Right. As we are drawing closer to the end of the conversation, let's look at the visions, the mission, and the strategy. Okay. Now, you have heard most of the institutions and the businesses, they're supposed to have the visions, the mission, and the strategy. So the mission and visions are very important because they provide a vehicle for communicating an organizational purpose and the values to all the key stakeholders. Usually the mission and the vision, both they relate to an organization's purpose, and they are typically communicated in some written form. So the mission and the vision are statements from the organization that answer the questions such as who we are, what do we do, what we value, and where we are going. For a mission statement, it communicates the organization reason for being and how it aims to serve its key stakeholders. That is a mission statement. Then a mission statement does provide the stakeholders with the clarity about the overall purpose and the organization reason for existence. There is also what we call a vision statement. So in contrast, in a future-oriented declaration of the organizational purpose and aspirations, in many ways, we should be able to show people in writing, of course, where we are going. What is our vision? Then we also need a strategy. A strategy is basically an action plan that communicates and indicates how the action or the objective is going to be achieved. That action plan, it is an action plan, get it? That's what a strategy is. A strategy is an action plan. It outlines the activities that you're going to do. What is it that you're going to do? People write down goals. You have heard. You write down your objectives, but you don't strategize. Like, to those objectives, you have not told us how you are going to reach at them, how you're going to achieve them. It should be written down in writing. We need an organization, the part that should be there to help us to strategize.